vigorously, some of the blood will go back to your brain, you won't fall asleep. Now, that's it. Now, yes, you can wave your bodies around vigorously if you'd like. Now, here's the first question. Is purpose, in general, of high priority or of primary importance to you in your life?
Yes. Put your hands up. You can put both hands up if it's important. Yeah. Now, can you hear me without this thing now? Yeah. They're going to make me more uncomfortable.
Okay, it's going to cramp my... I just hate to have to stand still. What do I do about my ADD? I'd rather move. So, how many of you are also interested in prosperity? And I don't care how you define prosperity, but who's interested in prosperity? Okay, we got several double hands up, that's good. All that blood's going to your brain, not to your stomach. Now, how many of you think that you could have a better access to greater prosperity if you had a more refined idea of what your purpose is, or if you had some better techniques for linking purpose to prosperity? That's pretty much everybody. And does anybody feel that they have an optimal relationship between purpose and prosperity right now? That's great. We got a couple of people. Now, you might want to just go somewhere else and have a nap. No point trying to keep the blood out of your stomach. Just stop thinking you actually belong at the front of the room, because I do not have that yet, but I'm working on it. So what I'd like to do is find out from you what you think the purpose of Let's is, because it seems to me that Let's is a very purposeful organization, and if we're going to talk about purpose, we probably want to talk about the purpose of Let's. So does anybody have a thought about that, or would you rather sort of turn to each other and discuss this with dyads? What's your thought? You want the mic? It doesn't go that far. You have to jump up and use it.
Trying to remember my exact terminology, but I said to somebody who was a member of the Northwest Environment Centre, but very resistant to sense, that it's a sort of a system of checks and balances between this current economy that we're in at the moment and where we'd like to be, where it's totally a gifting economy and it's all utopia and everybody loves each other and nobody does the wrong thing by another person. So it's a way of sort of transitioning us between where we are now and that. That's what I look at Let's as. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else wants to talk about? Yep.
I think it's a way of building connections and rebuilding community, because our communities have been disrupted. Most of us don't even know our neighbours in the city. And it's a way of empowering people to work together to make change.
Fabulous. Who else? Alison, do you want to come up here?
Building resilience.
Building resilience. That's a good short one. Anyone else got a good short one like Alison had? It seems to me, I mean, I've been interested in Let's for a very long time, but it seems to me that what Let's does really well is to enable its members to prosper outside of the conventional currency system. Now, I don't know whether we want to actually work through a little bit of what the purpose of Let's is right now, but is everybody sort of in agreement that we've all touched on aspects of the purpose of Let's? Everybody happy with that? And does it seem as though there are actually some aspects of purpose? It isn't just a unified thing, or does someone want to give us a definition of purpose that gives us a unified definition of purpose? I actually haven't got one, and I've spent a lot of time really working on this. If we have time to do this later, I'd like to give you the definition of purpose that the person that I work with on purpose gives, which is to cite 4 aspects of purpose, but that's a little later down the track. What I think we might do is just have one look at one slide, because what I think is possibly a gap in our understanding of purpose and getting to prosperity might be held in this slide. Does anybody recognize this slide from Simon Sinek's famous TED Talks? Simon Sinek was famous for understanding that the great businesses of the 21st century are likely to be the businesses that know what their why is, not what they're selling or how they make it, but why they're in business. I think if we think about Steve Jobs, it wasn't just that he sold slick, wonderful bits of technology, but that he wanted to change the world. And in many ways he did. He succeeded at that. That's one reason that Apple has such a huge market share. So which of these is Let's really good at? They're good at the what, or part of the what anyway. What are they really, really good at? Why? You're all very purposeful, aren't you? You're in Let's for a purpose. You're in Let's probably for a higher purpose. And where is Let's maybe a little bit weaker? Where could we fill in a bit more for Let's? It's the how, isn't it? It's often the case that theoreticians like myself, I'm very good at coming up with concepts, just don't know how to get from why to what. So how is it that we might be filling in the gap between why and what, and thereby expand, not changing our why, because I think you've all made it quite clear that you have a very clear idea of what the why is, but expanding the what, and perhaps even refining the why. Does that seem like something that we could work on right now? Are you happy to run with that? Great. All right, then what I'd like you to do is turn to your neighbor, and some of you have neighbors who are too far away, and just say, what does how mean in the case of Let's? What would a technique be to connect why and what? What would that be? What would that look like? Or what would a technique be to refine the purpose of Let's so that the why stood out more than it stands out now, or it has more power to attract new Let's members, or to inspire you to be more engaged in Let's? Everybody want to spend a minute doing that? I didn't get a timekeeper. Have we got a volunteer timekeeper?
You told me I should be.
Yeah, I told you should volunteer if nobody else did.
Is there any other volunteers?
Any other volunteers?
I'm not very good at that, Simon.
Well, you can do us a minute too, and all we want to talk about is where is the how missing between the why and the what?
I'm really your neighbor. Can you become my neighbor? Yeah. Because I don't have one. So long. Let's talk about the cows. So we're talking about the right? Like in terms of promotion, the house.
So who has a suggestion? Yeah, we come up with it. Are all those tummies full of the blood and your brains have missed out? Who has their hand up? I haven't seen. Right, Mark, go for it. Come up and grab the mic. They're making me use the mic. You have to do it.
Education.
Education, even the old style door knocks, letter drops. So education is one of the hows that we're not quite, does that make sense to everybody that that's one way to connect why and what? Yes?
We had communication and
Communication, an example, perfect. And who else has a suggestion?
taking a step back, which is substitute what exists
Substitute what exists with what's new in economy, so in the economy. So taking a step back. Now, who else has something? Our scribes. Oh, yep, Allison.
Yeah, thinking sometimes we present this as a like a yellow pages.
Yep.
But as we all share it here, we're actually talking about a new paradigm, world domination and all the rest of it. And so actually sharing more of that with the people who go why they want to trade.
Okay, so Allison's saying that instead of acting like a Yellow Pages directory, that we actually have, may I use some other words for you, and that we are fired up by our purpose, and the purpose makes us, first of all, more excited about what we're doing, but also brings more people to us because we radiate that purpose. And in order to do, yeah, let's hear yours.
So it's sort of the same.
Same, okay. Who else? So, I'm just going to pick up on those last couple of points and ask you how we have come to, because I'm going to take a step back, as suggested by this gentleman, I'm going to take a step back. How have we come to our determination of what the purpose of this organization is? What tools did we use to figure that out? Conference. Sharing ideas.
Listening to some
Yep.
minds that we've been working on.
Yep.
critique of what is.
Critique of what is. All right. Can I just point out the main tool that we've been using, if all of those are the ways that we find the purpose of LETS, and we have found it, and we've been very successful at doing that, most of them sit right here. The part of your brain that's being deprived of oxygen right now because the oxygen's gone to your tongue to do the digesting. So that's very interesting, isn't it? This is mostly, we are a group of people who understand that intuitive knowledge is a really important part of life. And yet, in order to find our purpose, we've mostly depended on our rational thinking. Would you agree with that? Do we want to look at things in a slightly different way? The way that I've been taught to look at purpose is that there are two ways to access purpose. And one is right here. And another one sits somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah. But where else might it sit? So this lady pointed to her heart. So that's one place that it might sit. Where else might it sit? Where else might you find your purpose? Where else? Yep. Access to your purpose.
The whole body,
The whole body
the field.
and the field and
The community.
the community. Action. But I think, can we go a little further than the field, please? The universe. I like it. I like it. Is there, I mean, it seems to me that one of the things that we're moving into right now with the change going into the 21st century and with this new paradigm is that people are understanding that actually this wasn't enough. And that's not just us. That's a lot of people, businesses, governments, other people who didn't get it now understand that this isn't enough, that we have to find a way to here, or to there, or to there, to something more universal. Now, isn't that interesting that we've always understood this, and yet, how did we find our purpose? We mostly went for our rational thinking. So, this person that I work with in the States has the True Purpose Institute. His name's Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly considers this to be indirect purpose hunting. Indirect purpose hunting. So what would direct purpose hunting be? If this is the indirect method, what's the direct method? Intuition. Pull it out of the field. What are some of the other names that we call that field or that universe? Different people call them different things. Some are objectionable to some of us and not objectionable to others. What are they?
Inner voice.
God, inner voice, inner wisdom. But you don't dare do your hair here, you'll be picked on. And if only I could move a little more, but if I weren't constrained by this mic, I'll tell you what, I'd be picking on more people. So there's actually a possibility, I think let's leave this room open to this possibility, that there's a way of directly finding your purpose or your organization's purpose. Now, how are we actually going to do that? And can we have an example of that? Can we do a little exercise around that in this room right now? What would that be? Mark? Okay, unity, that's good. What exercise might we do to look for direct access right now in real time with our timekeeper? Visualization, great.
Set the intention.
Set the intention, fantastic. So, is everybody in this room willing to sit with the idea for a couple of minutes that whatever they consider to be their deepest inner wisdom, or the source that they connect to, has possibly something to say about purpose, and might say it to you directly if you just shut up and listen. And would we have Bill time us for 2 minutes, and you'll give us a coin when we're done with 2 minutes, and each one of us, the way I do this, in the way that I've been taught, is to actually speak to what we call our trusted sources and say, what is my purpose? What is the purpose of that? Let's just try it. What's the purpose? I think let's work on what's the purpose of that.
Silence.
This is in silence. You're asking someone bigger than you are, your inner wisdom, or something more universal than you. Your intuition.
And that's your 2 minutes.
Who got a message? What was your message?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Where is our beautiful scribe? Now, who else got a message?
It's about connection, and I could expand on that, but basically...
It's about connection. You weren't, this time you weren't combing your hair?
No. Prosperity for all, in all ways.
Prosperity for all. What did you get?
To give one a place in the community.
To give one a place in the community. Over on this side.
Solutionism.
Solutionism. Beautiful. Hope.
Believe in ourselves.
Yes.
What do you think?
Another way of touching people and yet another way.
Harmony. Living together in harmony and making support of that.
Now, I don't know whether you're getting a tingle out of all this, but this really tingles me. Like, how much deeper a level did we just go to about what we're really doing here? It only took 2 minutes. What if we did this a lot? And now the question is, we found an indirect way of finding our purpose, and we found a direct way of talking to someone or something else, an inner wisdom, in order to find our purpose or to expand the feeling or the depth of what our purpose is. So which one are we going to choose? Or do we have to choose? We don't have to choose, do we? How about if we combine intuition and rational thinking and got the best out of both? Now, this seems so obvious to us, doesn't it? And yet, I can tell you that Tim Kelly goes and charges CEOs $50,000, that's American dollars, to find their purpose because he's figured out. Yeah, he's coming to North Queensland in July. Mark my words. So, how has he done it? By thinking more deeply and finding the how that connects the what and the why. Because that was a how, wasn't it? How did we find a more specific why? And we've just done an exercise that shows that that's really possible. So let's just jump through a few of these, because that was where the presentation was going to go, but we got there a lot quicker. And of course, what Tim Kelly teaches us to call our inner wisdom, or our universal guide, or our mentor, inner mentor, or whatever, spirit guide, is trusted source, because it doesn't have any of that language around it like God or Allah or whatever that people could object to. And that's where you end up with your direct purpose hunting, indirect purpose hunting. And the next question is, if there are two ways of finding your purpose and you need to combine them, how many pathways to purpose are there? Because we need to be a little more specific, don't we? In fact, that was quite a revealing exercise. We need to get a little bit more into the depth of where we actually are going. We need some models. Who knows what a model is? Colin. The academic will tell us what a model is.
I suppose it's like a bit like a map.
Yes.
So it's a representation of reality, but of course it's as a representation, it's not it isn't reality, it's just something that looks a bit like it.
You know, this man should be an academic. Gold stars for that definition. So is a model actually reality? Is there really a difference between indirect and direct purpose hunting? Maybe, maybe not. But we've made an artificial distinction, haven't we? What is the thing that tells us whether a model is good or bad? Actually, it might feel bad, but be useful.
Yeah.
reflects reality.
Actually, maybe not, because think about a map. Does it reflect reality? If you want to go to Bundaberg, from Bundaberg to Backaburg, don't you want a good map? Does it look anything like Backaburg? No. It's actually a representation of reality, but it doesn't look any. It isn't the territory. The map is not the territory. So what do we need in a model? What do we need? We need usefulness, don't we? It needs to work for us. It needs to work. I'm sorry. I was just hoping I could get away without this stupid thing because I love to wander. So a model needs to be useful, and I think we found a useful model. We need a bit of indirect access and a bit of direct access to purpose. And we need to combine them in clever ways that probably have a bit to do with systems and technology, actually, not just intuition. Now, Let's has a particular pathway to purpose. So let's just talk a little bit about pathways to purpose. And I don't think we can use our whiteboard anymore. So how about if we use perhaps a sheet of butcher paper? Where have we got some butcher paper?
I can take a picture of this panel.
Oh, that sounds great. So just give me some examples of very purposeful people or organizations, and we'll start to think about how they fit into a model that might be useful to us. Anyone who's purposeful or anything in the organization that's purposeful. I mean, Let's is purposeful. I feel very purposeful. If you want to pick somebody famous, let's look at Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Eckhart Tolle. Purposeful? Would everybody agree that those are all purposeful? Yeah. Say again, Mind Valley? All right, good. Now, if we were to write those people up, yeah, sure. Eckhart Tolle, I'm going to ask you to put Eckhart, and just put Tolle, T-O-L-L-E. Oops, that one doesn't work. And Mind Valley. Those are two very different paths to purpose, aren't they? Tolle, Mind Valley. Who else has somebody?
How do you spell that? What is it?
Mind Valley. It's an organization that, yeah. What do we got? Can somebody read this, please? Richard Branson. Very good. Richard Branson here. Who else? Permaculture. Beautiful.
Fred Hollows.
Fred Hollows. Fred Hollows? Now, we haven't picked any of those purposeful people who are into power, have we? So we've got a blank.
Oprah Winfrey.
Well, I think I'd put Oprah Winfrey here. How about Bill Gates? The Pope. The Pope. I think we put the Pope. I'm not sure where to put the Pope. I'm going to leave that one out. I'm not touching that one. I'm brave, but I'm not that brave. Tim. Oh, Tim. Right? This Tim would go probably, I'm not sure where to put him on. But we've got a blank over here. If we are looking at quadrants, we've got a blank over here. I'm trying to build a model, and you aren't giving me the building blocks. So can I go back to say...
What's the segment?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Gina Reinhardt.
Good, right here. That's what I wanted. Gina Reinhardt, perfect example. So let's start to reveal what the pattern behind this model is. So we've got a path of presence, Eckhart Tolle. A path of piety, Fred Hollows, or someone like Mother Teresa. The path of purpose are all of those folks in the upper right-hand quadrant. The path of power, I think Gina Reinhardt, great example. So which one of these, if you think that, how do I make this thing point with this laser? What's that? rationality. It's called ego, but we can call that rationality. And this is that connection or your inner wisdom. If you have low rationality and not much interest in the Supreme Being, that's the path of presence, Eckhart Tolle. If you have high ego and no interest in anything outside yourself, that's the path of power. If you have low ego and high trust in source, you get out of bed in the morning and you pray to God and you say, God, what am I to do today? And you do precisely what you're told. That's pretty much the path of piety, isn't it? And then there's the path of purpose. High trust in source, high ego, or high rational involvement. Does this make any sense of where we need to be working for less? Because in fact, we're not going to take the path of piety, are we? We're not going to collectively jump out of bed in the morning and say, God, what are we to do with let's? And we're not going to become Gina Reinhardt, God forbid. So it seems to me that once again we have a model that indicates that there's a way of getting from the how to the what, and that is to not ignore the rest of these quadrants, but to focus on our strength, which is that we're purposeful. And that does not exclude being prosperous. So I think I'm coming to the end of my time. Bill has not actually raised a red flag and said, shut up yet. But where else can we go that would show us that there are some actual models that we can use to get from why to what, or to refine our why? What else do we need to talk about in this short time, or do we need to go back to a plenary session and start to tie this together? Because we really need to say, by the end of this co-creative space, is this a direction that we need to be following? All I've done is give us a couple of examples. We've done a few exercises. We've sort of gone and wandering around a little bit and a bit in a direction. But is this a direction that lets itself, and you as Let's members, think that we could profitably, purposefully, and prosperously follow in order to expand the what of Let's and refine the why of Let's? Any thoughts about that? Would you like to turn to each other and just go back into talking to your neighbor for a few seconds? That seemed to produce the most comments. And then we'll have a share and close. How's that? So turn to your neighbor, and the question is can we get something out of these few examples and these few exercises that gives us an idea of whether we can go forward with some of this, using some of these practices, and of course there are many more, to expand Letz's understanding of its what and refine its understanding of its why.
What do you think, Tim? Sorry, you need somebody to talk to. No, I don't. That's good. I think that maybe we could get this desire that everyone has, or these hopes, or this feeling, and kind of use that to get them motivated, and to get them involved. Because sometimes in Let's, there's only a few people who are kind of driving. So maybe getting people excited. Yeah, getting people excited, motivated, inspired. Just kind of use that energy. Yeah. Use it to our advantage. So we need the key. The key to motivation. And inspiration. Maybe it's all in finding the right person to motivate and inspire. So for instance, I find this lady very motivated. You can have speakers who are really boring, you just sit there and you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to another word. But she's quite engaging and these activities, I feel inspired. So maybe the key is having a key person to inspire others, and then in turn those people become inspired and they inspire others. So maybe it's like a domino effect. Sometimes they just turn up, sometimes you have to identify them. There's also a lot of people might not have the confidence, so building the confidence within them.
So I think that's enough discussion time. Who wants to share? Yeah.
We two decided that talking about this too, just spreading the ideas generally and feeling free to do that is a really good way of communicating it. Some people say it's a waste of time, but we say no, it's not. It's great. It makes it seem normal.
And what I might suggest is that if we had a better way of defining and refining our why, we would probably be able to use some work on how to create the what of communication such that it really, really hit people the way we want to hit them. So who else has an idea? Yeah. Sorry, that short cord.
Yeah, when I'm in touch with my purpose, then so when I'm in touch with my purpose, well, it's love and humanity and relationship, I find that the more I'm in touch with that, the more the excuses or the reasons for like not being in action or, just going and talking to people like you might feel tired or it's like, oh, hang on, if I'm actually in touch with what I'm on about, then I can actually take the actions easier.
Beautiful. Beautiful, and it seems to me that what we were talking about with these kind of exercises is to be more precise about what really is your purpose, refining your purpose such that you're able to give voice to your purpose in a more purposeful way so that people want to hear it and recognize what you're saying. Who else has it?
Robin and I, we were just a bit out there for a minute, and
Let's hear out there.
Well, she thought of forming a political party with all the synergies, and I thought maybe a religion because we could get more donations.
God would love to hear you say that.
A new religion, and put the kids at the top, and the people who are usually not heard. So you wouldn't have that. Corruption. Yeah, that's happened time and time again on socialist and or communist organisations or altruistic religious groups. Thank you.
So I think what we were saying was let's try to stay more on the path of purpose rather than the path of power. Was that a short way of looking at that? Okay, who else has a suggestion? I think you had one over here. Would you like to express that? No? Can you come up and talk with the mic? I'm sorry, it's just...
So is this activity about finding what the purpose is of LET so that you can expand it?
Well, I guess that's a question for Let's, because perhaps you want to refine your purpose so that you can expand your your reach.
Okay.
And so sometimes refining purpose, rather than being a little lofty about it, becomes a method for creating the how of getting to the what that's more expansive.
Does that make sense? Yeah, so this activity of all of us coming together to find our purpose is bringing up all very related things, and that all comes down to our values and our ethics. And when we come together, we collaborate and we realise that they're all the same, then we can work to the outer community to be thought-provoking, to grab at their values, like religion. Everyone, you know, comes together because they have these core beliefs. So finding the purpose and the core beliefs of Let's and using those particular things to grab the attention or grab more members, and that's why I see it, the purpose. Showing other people that our purpose is the same as their purpose. Yep.
So I think one of the things I'm hearing is that we can be more inspirational if we're more anchored in our purpose. Would that be a sort of a short form of what you just said? Who else wants that?
Clear on our purpose.
Clear on our purpose. Yeah, that's beautiful. Who else?
Yeah,
Alison?
I think in a way, Let's offer something so practical that someone can join and not have to worry about whether the world's going towards a model, a new paradigm. They can just get some food on their table right now and not have to worry about an overarching purpose, even though the rest of us might believe in that. So that, we've got a possibility of just, and that's what's so practical about it, which is one of the reasons we love it, that we can just do it and then worry about the bigger model.
So Alison is saying, in case some of you couldn't quite get that, the pragmatic aspect of Let's is a really important part of its purpose, because that reaches people on a level for those who really don't want to be doing the big picture and thinking and want to not think about where the world is going, but just want to have some benefits, community benefits, and whatever else. I think this is a really important point. This is part of the purpose of Let's, isn't it? It's part of your purpose. And it's part of your what? And there's something for everybody. And in fact, the question, I think, is this a methodology that might help us find a way to do that what better and to define that why better? And I guess that's the question I'm going to leave you with, because we've run well over time and you've been very patient, but you're a fantastic group of people to be working on purpose with, because you're so purposeful, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you, Christine. And with these thoughts of purpose in our mind, uppermost in our mind right now, what I'd like you to do in the next 5 minutes is to connect with your the people in your Let's group. And as you move your chairs into a bit of a round circling thing, and so to finish off today and finish off the conference, I'd like to hear from each of the Let's groups just something that you've thought about over the weekend that you'll want to take back and maybe make a change, maybe something that's highlighted about your group. So in the next 5 minutes, as you just rearrange the furniture,